All right, well, it's good to see everyone, and I'll keep to my 10 minutes here. But one of the things I should say, and again, this morning is an excellent introduction. Every meeting that I seem to have in the last month regarding technology development, whether or not it's cybersecurity, fission, fusion, two themes always come out. One is supply chain that we just talked about this morning, and the second is workforce. And when we look at enabling our technologies, and again, this isn't just what we're talking about here in Fusion, it's really almost every STEM field that we're trying to advance these days, we seem limited, and workforce is one of the key issues there. So we'll talk a little bit about the challenges for Fusion workforce development, and maybe some ideas on how we can take some immediate steps. Again, in order to do that, we'll look at sort of current landscape, why we're looking at workforce, and basically also look at some paths forward. So the first thing is that there is a fair amount of investment going into Fusion these days. But I'll at least say from the academic side, we haven't seen what I'd call matching significant growth in the educational infrastructure and background to develop the next generation of Fusion scientists. And with that, we recognize that at the university level, Fusion largely is a graduate topic taught in nuclear engineering and physics. But in order to enable the workforce, we need a lot more than just PhD level scientists that are contributing. You need everything from the technician level, the support from, again, we'll say civil infrastructure, and all of the components coming together that needs to be able to, again, develop this robust pipeline that we can look. And again, we'll say that largely we need to look at how to boost these mechanisms, because at least my opinion that the development of fusion infrastructure within university systems have been fairly underfunded for the last few decades. And some of that does match the history of fusion, where it really hasn't been the biggest topic. It's never going to be, at least within our university system, matching mechanical engineering or electrical engineering that will have very, very, very large programs. But what we have to do is we have to look how to maybe launch some initiatives at this point and be able to grow closer to the pipelines that we need in order to develop the workforce needed for this field. Now again, what we'll look at is that we really do have two paths for workforce development. One is sort of, well, you grow it from the roots, i.e. you teach people, you look at technical schools, you look at universities, and the other way is basically to cross-train or pull people from other areas. And so again, both have limits with how much you're able to do, and I think within our field, or at least what I'm seeing where I live, is that it's one of the biggest challenges isn't people's recognition that what we're doing here is important, it's that there's so many other important things going on right now. So when I enter these discussions across our state and our region, it isn't, oh no, what you're doing isn't important, it doesn't deserve recognition. It's, oh, we're also getting pulled because cybersecurity needs so much of a workforce. We need advanced manufacturing, and additive manufacturing is exploding, and we need all these resources going into that. It's that we have so many competing STEM fields that it's hard to have enough oxygen in the room for the topics that we want. So it is a continual battle and a push. And again, that's not a bad thing that all of our technology is doing very well, but we do have to recognize that even though we're sitting in this room and we all recognize and we see that we're heading down the same path, that outside of the field of nuclear fusion, there's many other competing technologies that also need workforce development for those same people, basically. All right? So again, when we look at the educational infrastructure, classical fusion sits largely within nuclear engineering and physics. However, when we look at how to contribute to ITER or how to contribute to the other projects that were discussed this morning, we recognize that we need a lot more than just the classically fusion-trained scientists, right? So we have everything that's needed from electrical engineering, material science has been said countless times so far within this meeting. The need to and I think, to be honest, this is one of the things I see as semi-under-addressed in the field is still this thermodynamics and heat transfer of how to convert back to electricity and how to complete that cycle. So again, when we look at workforce development, it isn't just directly fusion, but I think that there is, and I'll tell you, it's one of the things that we have at Georgia Tech, just an undergraduate course in fusion. Every time we teach it, it pretty much so sells out, right? And when we look at it, the enrollment within that fusion course is not just nuclear engineers or physicists, it's all sort of areas of STEM that people find that to be interesting. And, but again, there's limitations in bandwidth with what that outreach is. But I do think that fundamentally, and this gets back to the last discussion, is that there is a need, not necessarily to train pure fusion resources, but to train people in other areas to have the vocabulary and also to engage them so that they see this as a viable career path. If you're a mechanical engineer, you may just have blinders on and say, I'm just going to go work at some car company. And again, that may be a classic thing, but I think all of our students these days are very, very, very engaged and interested. And I will tell you, when you talk to the 18-year-olds that are entering universities, they are super, super engaged in the energy of the future. The positive outlook on, I'll say, both fission as well as fusion by our 18-year-old is quite dramatically different than what it is for people in my own age category. And it is quite amazing what the opportunities are there to engage our next generation. One of the things that I do want to encourage here, so I'm one of the partners of the European Nuclear Engineering Network, and this is, if you aren't aware of the, I guess, educational collaborations we have between Europe and the United States, I do believe that this serves as a platform that may be actually to be able to leverage in the near term to encourage these collaborations. In particular, the EU provides funding, say, for European researchers to come to United States universities for a short period of time, a longer period of time, to begin these collaborations and move things forward. And if there are opportunities to leverage these capabilities into building, we'll just say collaborations and fusion education, that may be an easy starting point. So with that, we have a lot of opportunities and a need to leverage our current networks in order to build the future network. This needs to go and address everything, I guess, from technician level to PhD scientist level. And we also have to look how to engage that it's not just the science and technology that we need to engage in, but we do have to look at everything, really, I'll say, from finance, economics, supply chain management, policy, nuclear nonproliferation, and all these cross-disciplinary fields sort of need to be integrated and merged to aid us to get to where we need to be. So within that, I think we have a need to sort of roadmap the educational growth that's necessary to address all these levels and concerns. International collaborations should be leveraged where possible. Again, this is a small field, relatively speaking, and we need to work together to get to where things need to be. And so with that, I think I might finish just a tad early, but we'll look forward to future discussions, and thank you again for having us here.